Welcome, YouTube audience. Today we are diving into a truly fascinating explainer where we examine the observation effect in darkness and the act of bringing the forehead to the ground, also known as sujood. We're going to explore this intersection conceptually through the lens of Germanic Healing Knowledge, which was founded by Dr. Hamer, and then we'll contrast that with some really compelling recent clinical science on prayer. So let's see how stepping into the darkness might actually be a biological imperative.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. 1. Germanic Healing Knowledge. 2. Emotional Shocks and Biology. 3. The Observation Effect. 4. Forehead to the ground. And finally, number 5. The Science of Prostration. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. Germanic Healing Knowledge. Understanding the framework. So, founded by Dr. Hamer, this framework completely flips the script on how we traditionally view getting sick. According to GHK, the things we usually call illnesses aren't just random malfunctions or biological mistakes. Not at all. Instead, they are seen as highly meaningful biological responses. They're triggered by your psyche when you experience a sudden, unexpected emotional shock. From this perspective, your body isn't failing you. It's actually doing exactly what it thinks it needs to do to help you survive a very specific trauma.
Section 2. Emotional Shocks in Biology, Mapping the Conflict.
Okay, let's walk through how this actually builds. According to GHK, there's an inseparable, totally hardwired link between your mind, your brain, and your organs. Step 1 is the emotional shock. Something sudden completely catches your psyche off guard. Then, step 2, that psychological shock registers in a very specific localized area of the brain. And finally, step 3, that specific brain area essentially sends out a signal dictating a biological response in a corresponding organ. The core idea here is that if you suppress an emotional conflict instead of resolving it, your body basically takes the wheel and runs a physical program to try and resolve it for you. To put this into perspective, the source material maps out how distinct emotional shocks theoretically show up in very distinct physical ways. Take skin conditions like acne, for instance. In this framework, they're linked to conflicts of feeling soiled or experiencing a sudden separation from a loved one. Your skin is reacting to a perceived attack. Liver issues? Those are tied to what they call starvation conflicts. And let's be real, in our modern world, a starvation conflict usually just translates to severe financial distress or the sudden, overwhelming panic of trying to make rent. Meanwhile, lower back pain is linked to feeling fundamentally devalued. It's like your body is literally trying to build extra structural support for someone who feels totally unsupported in life.
Section 3. The Observation Effect, Finding Peace in the Dark.
So, what actually happens in the dark? You know, when the world just gets too overwhelming, a lot of ancient spiritual traditions point towards stepping away from all that external noise. In the context of prayer, especially when you close your eyes and bring your focus downward, you enter this state of darkness. And from the perspective we're exploring today, this darkness triggers what's called the observation effect. It allows a deeper, higher consciousness to come online. Instead of running away from your emotional conflicts, you're bringing them into the quiet, observing them, and making peace with them.
Now, a crucial piece of this puzzle is the internal tug-of-war happening inside every single one of us. On one side, you have the ego, often referred to as the nafs. It is driven by worldly attachments, it completely panics when a shock hits, and it desperately tries to control the outcome. We've all felt that panic, right? But on the other side, you have the soul, or the ruh. The soul is anchored in peace, in gratitude, and in surrender. It inherently knows it doesn't have to carry the weight of the entire world. Resolving this duality, essentially letting your calm soul soothe your panicking ego, well, that is the ultimate goal of the observation effect.
Section 4. Forehead to the ground. The Act of Surrender.
I absolutely love this quote. Prayer simply allows you to repent for the baggage you were carrying which did not belong to you anyways. The physical act of sujood, or prostration, is pretty much the ultimate physical manifestation of letting go. You are taking your fear, your anxiety about your kids, your financial stress, and you are literally handing them over to the earth. By physically touching your forehead to the ground, you are sending a massive signal to your ego that you are officially letting go of the need to control the outcome.
Section 5. The Science of Prostration. Hemodynamics and Brainwaves.
23%. If you take away just one number from this explainer today, make it that one. A clinical study back in 2004 used transcranial Doppler ultrasonography to measure what happens to blood flow in the brain during the physical act of prostration. And they found a statistically significant 23% increase in basilar artery mean blood flow velocity when the head is positioned below the heart. Simply put, this posture naturally and safely supercharges cerebral circulation. It bathes your brain in oxygen and nutrients without causing any adverse resistance. So we're looking at a very real, measurable physical mechanism for mental clarity and neural recovery. But it's not just about blood flow. It is about fundamentally rewiring your nervous system on the fly. A 2014 quantitative study showed that during this specific type of prayer, sympathetic activity, which is your fight or flight stress response, the exact same system that flares up during those emotional shocks we talked about, significantly drops. And at the exact same time, parasympathetic activity, your body's rest and digest response, spikes. So the act of prostration literally yanks the body out of an active, anxious state and forces it into a mode of deep cardiovascular relaxation and physiological repair. It's kind of amazing.
And electrically, your mind completely mirrors this physical shift. Multiple EEG studies have mapped out this profound change during the posture. In the prefrontal cortex, researchers see decreased entropy. That basically means your brain is transitioning from chaotic stress into a highly structured, calm state. We also see elevated alpha waves, giving you that deep, restful internal focus. And, fascinatingly enough, there's a significant increase in gamma power. This tells us that even though your body is incredibly relaxed, your mind is actually firing on all cylinders, engaged in intense, higher-level mindfulness.
Which brings us to this final provocative thought. Is clinical science simply catching up to the biological mechanics of ancient spiritual surrender? Think about it. We've seen how frameworks like Germanic Healing Knowledge suggest that emotional shocks drive physical illness. And we've just seen how the physical act of prayer, specifically bringing the forehead to the ground, clinically alters your brainwaves, spikes your cerebral blood flow, and literally flips your nervous system from panic to peace. Whether you look at this through the lens of spirituality or through hard, peer-reviewed scientific data, the sheer power of surrender is undeniable. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this as fascinating as I did, definitely hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.